I am a fantasy wildlife artist, and tonight we are going to be talking about traditional wood pencils versus mechanical pencils. So I have heard all of my favorite artists talking about how much they love their mechanical pencils. I've seen their artwork, it's amazing, and I've heard them talk about it for a long time, but to be perfectly honest, I did not think that I was going to like mechanical pencils. I've been pretty faithful to my wooden pencils, and I tried a ton of different brands and had finally settled on the one brand that I really love and really trust that's been very consistent for me, and that's the Staedtler Mars Lumograph. Well, during Christmas time, I figured, why not? I'll splurge. And again, I had seen all of this amazing artwork. So I invested in exactly one mechanical pencil, and I went ahead and bought the brand that I know and trust, which is Staedtler, and I got the Staedtler Mars Technico. After just a couple of days of using my one pencil, I was ready to scrap my beloved wooden pencils. As it turns out, now about a month and a half to, 2 months later, I still use both. So tonight we're going to be talking about the mechanical pencil versus the wooden pencil, what their pros and cons are, and why it is that I actually ended up not scrapping the wooden pencils and using both. So let me go ahead and give you some of the characteristics of each of the types of pencils. I'll start with wooden pencils. Wooden pencils are lightweight. They come in a large array of tones, typically from 9H through 9B, although the Staedtler Mars Lumographs only come to 8B. That's because the Staedtler 8Bs are darker than most 9Bs. In fact, they're almost the consistency of charcoal. They're very gritty, and they're almost as dark as charcoal. So it balances itself out. Having said that, most of them do come in very dark darks. And they also are very easy to blend on most surfaces. The wooden pencils typically are very smooth, and so they're easy to use with a tortillon or with a blending stem. The mechanical pencils, they are able to a few things. They're definitely heavier, particularly the Mars Technico. There's actually a plus to that, and that is that the weight of it, when your hand is cold, when you haven't practiced for a little while, it's hard with the wooden pencil to kind of get back into the groove because you don't have any weight to it. It's feather light. The mechanical pencils, though, the weight that is there actually helps your hand. It helps you to kind of cheat a little bit because the weight, it acts as a counterbalance, and so it's not quite so hard to warm up your hand. So I find that to be a plus with them. The other thing is that they can get as sharp as a pin. They can get a lot sharper than the typical wooden pencil, and that helps if you're doing a lot of really detailed drawings, anything like that. Then you want to have a super sharp pencil, and that's tough to get with the wooden pencil, and especially because the wooden pencil doesn't stay that way for very long. The mechanical pencil stays really super sharp for a much longer period of time. So if you're doing hair, if you're doing fur, anything like that, then mechanical pencils you cannot beat. That was one of the things that really turned me onto these, and that really changed my mind about them, was the fact that I was able to do the extremely detailed work that I love to do, and I wasn't having to sharpen every 5 minutes. So there's that. A couple of things about the mechanical pencils that are not so great. Number one, with the wooden pencils, there is a marking that tells you what the degree is, and on most of the wooden pencils it's up at the head here. On some of them it's along the body, so it's a little harder to find, but one way or another you can typically tell what degree of lead that you're working with. With the mechanical pencils, that's not the case, and I did look at several different brands. Again, I settled with the Staedtler, but I looked at several different brands, and they were all the same in that they do not have a place for you to put the degree that you're working with. Obviously, if you're working with multiple pencils, as I do, that can get to be a real pain. So the solution that I found was to put tape around the body, and I use a permanent marker, and I mark what the degree is for each of the leads, and that helps me to be able to pick them up quickly. Another thing is about the mechanical pencils that's a little bit on the frustrating side is that they don't come in the darker tones. So most of the mechanical pencils come in 4B, and that's the darkest that you can get. They come in other lighter tones, but they don't come in anything darker. And that's a little bit frustrating because obviously when you're drawing, you want to have a full range of tones. That's one of the reasons why I did not completely give up my wooden pencils, even though I love these so much. And if they did come in darker shades, I might not give up my wooden pencils completely, but I probably would be pretty close to it. But that was one of the reasons. The other reason is that mechanical pencils are harder to blend. They do come in a range of lead sizes. I use the 2mm, which is great because it gives me a lot of detail, but it doesn't snap quite so easily as some of the smaller ones. You can get smaller ones if you want to get really super detailed. But the fact it's like the mechanical pencil is so fine that even when you lay it on its side and it's dull, it still gives a line as opposed to giving just a flat tone like the wooden pencil does. And so it makes it a little bit harder to blend out the actual line. So that's another one of the reasons why I didn't completely give up my wooden pencils. I tend to use my mechanical pencils for the detail work, and then I'll use my wooden pencils for the shading. So that's about it, I think, for the technicalities of the pencils. Let's go ahead and take a look at how they perform. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like, what the actual marks themselves that each pencil makes look like. First of all, let me show you the sharpened pencils. I could probably get this pencil a little bit sharper, but it would take me shaving off so much of the wood of the pencil that it would be a waste. So this is about as sharp as it's going to get, maybe a little bit sharper. As you can see, the mechanical pencil gets significantly sharper. I can actually make it even sharper than this. I didn't want to take the time, but I can make it actually even a little bit sharper than this. So let me go ahead and show you the marks that each makes. This is a fine line from the wooden pencil, and this is a fine line from the mechanical pencil. There's not a huge difference. What you can see between the lines is that, number one, the wooden pencil, it is a little bit of a fatter line, and it is, with the mechanical pencil, it is a little bit more of an even stroke to it and an even color and an even tone to it. So that is the straight line, the top line. Here is, if you look at the line from the side, if you lay the pencil on the side, that's the wooden pencil, and this is the mechanical pencil. Again, you can see that the mechanical pencil has a more solid line to it. That's not necessarily a positive thing when you're laying the mechanical pencil on its side. You want it to have a little bit more of a easily blendable look. That's why the mechanical pencil is a little bit harder to blend, which I'm going to show you right now. So if I take the wooden pencil and lay it on its side, and I lay this down, lay some material down so that I can blend, and I'm going to do the same thing with the mechanical pencil. Lay down some material. You can see that even here as I'm doing this, you can see the lines from the mechanical pencil a little bit more easily than you can with the wooden pencil. Here I'm blending the wooden pencil, taking a blending stump, and I'm just doing pretty even strokes across. Okay. Now with the mechanical pencil, I have to use a lot, well, not a lot more pressure, but I do have to use more pressure. And you can see that you can still see the lines. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but you can still see some of the lines, and I have to do a lot more work to kind of get those lines out. Whereas with the wooden pencil, that's not so much the case. It's not a drastic thing, But it is something that you can tell a little bit more in person than you probably can on video. And it's, you know, even the smallest thing in your drawings makes a huge difference. So this is just kind of one little thing to keep in mind. This is why I haven't completely given up my wooden pencils as much as I love the mechanical pencil. So one last thing that I want to show you is if you are an artist who does hair or fur, anything like that, normally obviously you would draw the hair or the fur closer together, but I want to illustrate for you what the marks look like. Normally when I draw hair or fur, I will continually turn the pencil so that I'm getting the sharpest point of the pencil. And Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils are really great because they do stay sharper longer than most pencils. So when you're doing hair or fur, it is going to stay sharper longer than a lot of other pencils. Nevertheless, you can see that by about halfway down it has started to, on a couple of the sides, get really dull, and so at this point we're going to have to sharpen the pencil if we want to have. We are still getting some sharp marks, but it's not consistent enough to really be able to continue without sharpening the pencil. So about here, about halfway down, it's gotten to the point where I'm probably going to want to sharpen my pencil again. And here is with the mechanical pencil. These are both 4B pencils, by the way, so they are sharper, and I would expect that you would have to sharpen them sooner than the other pencils because it is a little bit of a softer lead. Now with the mechanical pencil, I am still turning my pencil so that I'm still getting the sharpest point. One other thing I wanted to point out is the difference in the feeling of drawing with these pencils, because with the wooden pencil there is some resistance to the paper. With the mechanical pencil, it feels like drawing with butter. It's really super smooth, and I really like that too. And you can see now that we're just starting to get to the point here with the mechanical pencil where we're going to want to sharpen. So, and we're still getting some nice sharp lines, but we're probably going to want to sharpen here pretty darn soon. So it's not a huge difference, but two things. But there is a difference. And two things. Number one, when you sharpen the mechanical pencil, it's just a little tiny bit. It's just really the tip that you're sharpening away. When you're sharpening the wooden pencil, you're sharpening a huge amount of the material and the wood casing. So a lot of the pencil gets lost with each sharpening. You know, they aren't really super expensive, but pencils, you know, they are kind of expensive, and so that can be an important factor when you're thinking about which pencil to use. So let me show you a little trick. The mechanical pencils come with a super special pencil sharpener of their own. That's very different. And what you have to do is you stick it in there and then you turn it. Well, one of the problems with the mechanical pencils is that you have to pull out the lead pretty far in order to sharpen it, and if you're not careful, it's easy to snap the lead. Not so much with the 2mm leads. It does happen, it has happened to me, but it doesn't happen very often, but it definitely happens with the smaller leads. So you have to be very careful. Well, there is kind of a trick to it. You can stick it in there, and instead of turning the pencil, as most people do, what you want to do is you want to actually hold the pencil stationary and turn the sharpener itself. And that way, You get a nice sharp point, but you don't end up breaking your lead. I hope that was helpful for you. Just remember that there are a lot of different brands of both mechanical pencil and wooden pencil, and it's important for you to try a lot of different things out to see what works best for you. Both mechanical pencils and wooden pencils have positives and negatives. We covered some of them tonight, but you can find out which ones are most important to you. I happen to love mechanical pencils because I don't think that they can be beat as far as being able to produce a really solid, consistent color tone. And also they're extremely smooth and they are just unbeatable as far as being able to produce great detail, fine details, and they come in lots of different sizes of leads. You also waste less with them when you sharpen them. So those are some of the really important factors for me personally. Again, you need to find out what's most important to you and what feels best in your hand. Another thing to consider is that lots of different brands will have different weights to them. So this brand may be a little bit too heavy for you, but you might like a different kind of mechanical pencil and with a bit of a lighter weight. So try a lot of different things out and see what you like the best. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful for you. And if you have any questions about either mechanical pencils or wood pencils, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Or if you have a suggestion for me on other art supplies that you would like me to compare, demonstrate, or give a review of, you can leave those in the comments also. And remember, if you like this video, please click the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks so much. Bye.